Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speak, Get Booked, Get Paid Masterclass Series. It's me, Karen Donaldson, and I'm so honored to have you here so we can show you exactly how to speak and get paid, attract more clients, and create an impactful talk. Today, I am blessed to have a phenomenal expert that we will be hearing from. He is none other than Cornell Thomas. He is a double author, a coach, as well as an expert speaker in a number of different capacities. And what's phenomenal is that he speaks to a youth, college, and university audience, as well as a corporate audience. So he has some great gems to really show you how to create a speaking business. And we'll get deep on what the speaking business is all about. So Cornell, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor for me to be on your show. So I was raised by an absolute lioness. My mom, Tina Thomas, raised 5 of us by herself. My father passed away when I was about 3 years old. And so I got a chance to see what dealing with adversity and being about solutions and all that was, how to do that at a very early age. So being raised by my mom and seeing her work ethic, I put that same work ethic into the game of basketball. So my whole thing was, I'm going to be a basketball player. I'm going to play professional basketball. And I started playing at 16 years old, and I was absolutely horrible. I was like a baby deer. I was tripping all over myself. And eventually I got good enough where I can get a scholarship to play in North Dakota. And then I came back home and got a professional contract to play in Lisbon, Portugal. And a week before I was supposed to leave, I blew my Achilles tendon. I ruptured my Achilles tendon. Yeah. So that's how I got on the path of, one, coaching kids, because as soon as I ruptured my Achilles, I had to get out of the why me mode and get into like, what now? Now what am I going to do? This happened. This dream isn't happening. So are you going to sit here in the fetal position and just cry the whole time, or are you going to pick yourself up? And like I said, I was raised by a woman who, raised 5 kids on her own with no money. So if she could do that, I can get through an injury. So I started coaching kids, and about 4 years ago, I was on social media and I'm reading it, and it was just the most negative stuff, Karen, that I've ever read in my life. I mean, not as bad as it is now, but it was just so negative. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to start a new movement. I'm going to take this book of positive quotes. I'm going to take out a quote. I'm going to post it every day. And I'm going to see what people see. Like, I'm going to change what people see every day. And so I started doing it. And even the people that were like about drama, they liked it. And I just started putting quotes out there. And then one day I lost the book and I wrote my own quote.
Love it.
And people started liking it. So I said, well, forget the book. I'm just going to keep writing my quotes. And a buddy of mine, about 6 months into it, goes, where do you get your quotes from? And I was like, oh, actually, I make them up myself. And he goes, dude, you should write a blog. And I said, that's a great idea. What the heck is a blog? Like, I've never heard of a blog before. He goes, so we're in Panera Bread, and he gets up this WordPress site, and I write a blog, and people liked it. And so the blogs eventually became books. And when I wrote my first book, The Power of Positivity, Controlling Where the Ball Bounces, I said, well, I want to share my message because I see what my words are doing for people. I see that they're helping people and empowering people. So I decided to embark on this journey that I'm on now.
Oh, lovely. So look at that. So it started from just a life experience. And like you said, it's so often for everybody, no matter what you go through, there's a time where you do just want to roll up in that fetal position and just stay there for far too long, but that's something you didn't do. And so for you, there was a path of just your writing and inspiring people to just eventually going to speaking. Yeah. So tell me more. You said, I know you coach young people.
Yes.
Tell me more about speaking to the audiences that you cater to in the areas that you have an expertise in.
Yeah, it's funny because people ask me what my demographic is. And I know it sounds like really like kind of, I guess, lame to say there is no demographic. There really isn't. I mean, if you have a pulse, then I can probably speak to you about something that's going to help your life. So I talk to young people because I still actively coach basketball, and I kind of know their language. Right. So, and I love, it's funny when you go and you see it too, when you speak to young people, it's a different energy. Right? It's such a different energy. When I'm in high school, I'm looking at these kids that are hearing things that they're not hearing in school, maybe for the first time. And to turn that key, I watch them, I look at my speeches, I'll watch some of my speeches and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was fired up, like really fired up, because I challenge these high school kids to be more than what they think they could be. And they're not used to, they're not getting that from a history book. So when I speak to high schools, it's different. Colleges, it's almost the same as high school, But for the colleges, they're kind of curious as, now where do I go? Like, this is great. I love what you're saying, but how do I get there? Because in a year or so, I got these student loans and I got this and this. And then when I speak to the corporate world, it's just waking them up. Like, okay, you're in your 9 to 5, 9 to 6 bubble. Okay. For you guys to be successful, you're going to need each other. And that's very hard for some corporations to understand. Like, oh, wait, you have to use teamwork. Oh, wait, we have to care about one another. That's how we make this machine go. So it's different in terms of that. But the message is all this, the central message is always the same. It has to be kind of congruent. I talk about positive mindset, and that in itself gets you through all the adversity and the doubt and, finding your purpose. Like, without the mindset, nothing you want to do in life is going to happen. So that's really kind of I tell people my purpose is helping people realize they have one. That is my purpose.
I love it. Helping people realize they have a purpose. And it's interesting, similar to you, speaking to the youth audiences as well as the corporate audiences, it's a revelation for some young people. And for some of the older people and more mature people, it's remember, you've always had a purpose. Like, shave off that hardcore, that norm that you've been functioning in for a very long time. And what is your true purpose? And it's never too late. That's the biggest message. It's never too late. Now, a question for you. I'm going to ask you to choose.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite audience to speak to? The youth, college, university, corporate. I'm going to.
What are you doing to me right now? Oh, man, what a good question. I would say that my favorite audience, and probably the hardest audience, is high school. And I'm telling you, it's by like a hair. It's not, because I love talking to college. I love talking to businesses, but high school, they're the hardest people that's the hardest audience you'll ever talk to. You can talk in front of high school kids. I talked in front of 900 high school kids 2 months ago. And to captivate them and get them to focus on you and your iPhone 19, that is, man, you do that. Like, if you guys want to really test your chops, you speakers, you go out and talk to a high school.
Yes. And
that's testing your chops more than any, because, when you're older, you're like, you know what, even if this person isn't very good, I'm going to give them respect and just not say anything. High school, if you're not good, they're like, So I'd say I love that challenge. And I love, like you said, it's that kind of revelation, like, wow, that's possible. And social media wise, those are going to be your most rabid followers, right? When I go and talk at the high school, like, well, I'm on Instagram. And next thing you know, is my phone's like, bing, 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 bing. And everybody's following me on Instagram. So I can continue to get through to them. I can continue to share that same message, months and years down the line.
Right. No, for sure. No, you have to, I encourage all the listeners and the viewers to take that challenge, because it's so true. One of the hardest audiences to speak to is a high school audience. And if you can keep them engaged, my God, the world is truly your oyster. So that's where we test your ability to truly connect and engage, because adults are just too polite. We're just too polite. We'll like it and we'll clap. But my friends, give yourself the challenge and get a booking at a high school, do a give back, get paid. I don't care, but speak in front of a high school audience for sure. Now, here's my question. As an expert speaker, and you speaking to colleges, universities, high schools, let's talk about the youth side for a minute.
Sure.
How do you personally find those bookings?
Yeah.
Sorry, and to add on to that, how do people find you when you get the calls? I know, because it's a fine balance. People, a lot of, the misconception is, I'm a speaker now. Call for speakers come, everyone hire me. And there's a lot of work to be done. So double-ended question.
Yeah.
How do you find the speaking gigs, and how do they find you?
Well, one thing, and Karen, you're the same way. I will help anybody that wants to be a speaker.
Yes.
Anybody. To me, get rid of your ego and stop thinking you're competing with other speakers. Because you're not, if you're really about helping the planet, you want as many of us to be going out in the world and sharing that positive message. So that's the first thing. Don't look at it as a competition. I'm not worried about Tony Robbins. I'm not worried about Les Brown. I love what they do. Continue to do it. Get billions of dollars, help billions of people do that. That's the first thing. Because I think people get this misconstrued. I'm part of this team and this person. There's no team. We're trying to make the planet better. So that's the first thing. That can be an hour conversation in itself. The second, for me, and you said it, It is work. If you think that becoming a speaker is going to be easy, you are in the wrong profession. My first speaking gig was in front of 10 people that were eating at a dance studio. And my only mission was, I'm going to be so good that by the time I get halfway through my speech, they're going to stop eating. That was my goal. Right. It wasn't about money because I wasn't getting paid any money. It was about how can I impact these people to make them put down that sub sandwich that they have. And so you have to, like, social media, I figured out 4 years ago. And I said, okay, I can share and give a lot of free content and give a lot of value, and people are going to want to see more, right? Because everybody loves free. So every day I started putting my quotes out there, and people started seeing it. So I got a phone call from these guys. Their brand is called Ula. And they were like, hey, we see that you're a speaker. And that's the first thing. If you don't have speaker in your profile and in your social media, you're not a speaker. That's the first thing you do. You change your profile, you put speaker summer, because someone's going to come across it. And if they need you or they need a speaker and they like the way you look, they like what you're saying, there you go. So these guys came up and said, hey, we see that you're a speaker and you're a writer. Could you write us a guest blog? I said, no problem. We're on my guest blog. They're like, oh, we loved it. They're like, we have this thing in Vegas. Will you speak at it? Now, Karen, my first gig was free, 10 people eating lunch. These guys are telling me to speak in front of 200 chiropractors at the Palm Casino in Las Vegas, right? 10 people. So I go, yeah, sure. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm telling my wife, I'm like, what do I do now? Like, do I pay for it? Do I do a PowerPoint? So I fly out there, I give my speech. They have no idea that I've never spoken in front of like an audience before.
Right. And
they come up to me after, they go, man, that was great, blah, 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 blah. They give me a big hug. They go, how long have you been speaking for? I was like, about 45 minutes. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, this is my first real speaking gig. And they're like, you were so confident. I was like, well, what I'm speaking about, I believe in. It's authentic. If you told me to speak about something that I didn't believe in, I couldn't do it. But from that speech, I met a guy in Wisconsin that flew me out. I met a woman in Michigan that flew me out. So you should be so good when you speak that at least one person says, I gotta have you. I had someone contact me in the summer, Karen. This lady told me speak 3 years ago. And my name came across this woman. She goes, this woman was so adamant about me contacting you that I had to contact you. And she didn't say, here's our budget. She just said, what do you charge? Yes. So it's very important, one, to kill it once you get there. But you have to you are your own best PR person. You've got to do your due diligence in terms of putting yourself out there on social media. Don't be Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. If nobody sees you, you're not a speaker. They got to see what you do. I go to your profile, Karen, and I'm like, she was here. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a speaker. I want to hire her, So you have to put it out there and let people know what you do. And it's not being showy. It's not about you. It's about your message. Like me, it's not about me. It's about my message. I don't need to be famous. My message needs to be famous. So I know that's a lot of things to your question, but I'm so passionate about that question because it's so important for people that are trying to get into what we do, for them to understand that it's not about competition. It's going to take a ton of work. And when you go there, be authentic and you kill it. And when you kill it, trust me, someone else is going to bring you on.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's just so true. Everyone's looking for there's only 10 people in the audience or there's only 50. You never know who those 10, those 2 or 5 people are. And I always remind, people I speak to, my clients, you have to treat those 2 people or that one person who's sitting in the audience like it's 1 million people, because you never know who knows who knows who. I could go through countless stories, so much of yours. It's so right. You never know who's sitting in the audience. And it's not about you. And when it comes to that whole confidence and creating an impactful talk, when it comes from here, you cannot be wrong. You cannot be wrong because there's no comparison. I love it. It's abundance mentality. Speakers get booked and paid every day. It's about our message. So don't compete. I love all the speakers. When I work with my clients, some of them have the exact same topic, but we're spreading a message, and that's the worth. That's the abundance mentality. Now let's get to another question. We're talking about the speaking business. And this is one thing that I want to ensure that everyone who is listening to this masterclass really, truly gets. What else is your speaking business composed of? Speaking
Yeah.
is one aspect. So what else do you do to build your business as a whole?
Yeah. Well, if you're just getting, me and Karen were talking before this interview, and she brought up a great point. If you're just trying to become a billionaire of speaking, it's just not going to happen. You know, like Tony Robbins was on QVC, you know, like trying to sell his products. Like this dude comes from super humble beginnings, you know? So for me, my revenue streams are, I have my speaking,
Right.
I have my books, I have my one-on-one coaching, right? I have a podcast that's going to be coming out. I have a positivity t-shirt line that's going to be coming out. We're at 5 now.
Right.
I have small group coaching. We're at 6.
Right.
You know, so it's like I have I have 6 different revenue streams.
Right.
And I haven't created the 7th one yet because this is probably going to happen tonight or tomorrow or whenever I get inspired to create a 7th one.
Right.
So that's what I'm working towards. How many different ways can that one message, that central message, right, branch out? So I tell people my business kind of model is the sun is my events, and that's another thing. That's the 7, I guess. My events, the Positivity Summit, and then the branches from that are all t-shirt, podcasts, coaching, blah, 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 blah. And that's what's orbiting the sun. So I know what's the most important. The Positivity Summit is my purpose project. That's what I was put on this earth to do.
Right.
Everything else branching out from it, it's all gravy, but it's all attached to the main message. It's hard. Like if I'm speaking about positivity, one of my revenue streams can't be a hater. You know, like it has to be congruent. Like it has to make sense. You know, like it has to be who you are. But you're right. You need different revenue streams. You got to think of different platforms that you can have that you can do and help people.
Right. Now, another question. You know, it's very true. It's a speaking business, and individuals need to start thinking about it as a business. There's promotions, there's marketing, as you said, your presence needs to be there. People have to know you speak. They may love what you do, but if they're looking for a speaker and you haven't shared exactly what you are, how would they know to hire you? Now, give us some areas online. Like, how do you build your brand online? For some individuals, online's brand new.
Yeah.
And for some, it isn't. So let's talk to those. Let's just put on the hat of online. Where do I start? What do I start with? What should I put up? How much information should I give? Should I give my good stuff? So give it to us from just a bare bones foundation.
Well, the first things first is you got to figure out what's your jam, right? You got to figure out what's your jam. Some people are great on video. Some people are great writers and aren't very good on video. So, you know, so you have to figure out, you know, if you're more of a Twitter person, that means you're putting out quotes, you're putting out messages, you're tweeting out stuff. If you're more of a Facebook Live, that means you're like my buddy Karen here and you're amazing on video and you can kind of bring people into you just by them seeing your presence. What I put out, everything. Why? Because I have an unlimited supply of content. Why? Because it's not from me. I'm not that smart. This is my purpose, right? This is coming from a different place. So my content doesn't run out. So I put out everything. I don't, well, you know what? I won't say this Facebook Live. I might use it in the speech. No, I put out everything. I give out so much free content. My jam is this: Instagram, Facebook Live, regular Facebook. Those are my jams. Twitter, I have a lot of following and all that stuff. I like it. It's not my jam. It's not the same as when people see me on video. When people see me on video, they're like, Cornell, thank you. That inspired me because I'm fired up. I'm passionate. I'm slightly crazy. And people like that. By slightly, I mean a lot. And people like that. So they gravitate towards that. So you have to figure out what's good for you. You might not want to be on video, right? But when I do a speech, like Karen said, it's 5, 10, 20. Trust me when I say this, there's pictures of me speaking. And if I have to go to the back row of the 5 people, so it looks like there's more than 5, I will do it because perception means a lot in terms of what we do, right? So you got to figure out what your jam is. And then when you figure out what it is, rock that and the other ones, build it up until you get better at it.
No, love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You hinted at something there that I want to touch on, and it's how do you leverage a speaking engagement? And I always say there's always an opportunity. Sometimes we do free ones, sometimes we do pay, whether it's 2 people, 1 person, 50,000 people. How do you leverage it? And you just shared, you get those pictures from the back of the room. So give us some juice on, leveraging those.
So this is what I love about you, Karen, because we think so similar. So similar. You're a lot smarter than me, but we think similar. So understand something. None of us have arrived, right? None of us have arrived. Oh, it doesn't matter what we make. So I never snoop my nose at an opportunity. Now, if you tell me that I have to go to Australia and on my own dime and do a speech in front of 5 people and then fly back on my own dime and take 5 weeks away from my family, then that's not going to happen. But if you tell me there's an inner city school in Newark, New Jersey, which is 30 minutes away from my house, and they don't have any budget, and can you come down? No problem. I had someone that contacted me, he called me before, and he wants me to come down and do a team training for a sales team and pharmaceutical sales. I said, okay. And he goes, yeah, Cornell, we don't have a budget. I said, okay, well, let's get creative. I use that sentence all the time.
Creativity.
Let's get a good friend of mine. I have a friend named Amy Avery, and she's a speaker. And she told me, she goes, Cornell, whenever you're, bargaining back and forth, she goes, let's get creative. I said, I love that. So I told this guy, I said, well, let's get creative, and he goes, well, can you bring books? I said, sure, I can bring books. You're gonna buy some for your whole entire sales staff? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, what else can we do? I was like, I do one-on-one coaching. I was like, who do you need to be motivated? And then next thing you know, by the time it's all said and done, it's way more than what you have charged for your speaking engagement. So, and like you said, you have no idea. I'm meeting with someone. I'm doing another keynote. I have 4 keynotes in 1 week, right?
Busy times. So the one keynote, this woman she goes, Cornell, I know we can't afford what you charge. I said, how do you know? I said, have you asked me? She goes, I just know we can't. I see her all over the place speaking. I was like, ask me. Yes. And she goes, well, what do you charge? I was like, what do you guys have? She goes, we don't have a budget. She goes, I'm bringing you here to Starbucks to try to convince you to please speak so I said, long story short, I said, listen, I will do the keynote at your speech, like 150 people. The top people in her company are all going to be sitting there. The CEO, whatever title you want to put is going to be in front of there as I kill it for free. So how do they feel? We owe him. Yes. What can we do? So that next event that comes that is paid, they're going to call Cornell Thomas. That's right. So it's very important to understand, there's some things that you just can't do. Karen, you're on the level where if someone says, Karen, I need you to fly to LA for $50, you just can't do it, right? You just can't do it. It's you're taking away from my time, my family, I can't do it. But if it makes sense and it's close and it's not going to put you out of pocket too much, or it's a great opportunity, here you go. That's right. I need to repeat that because Cornell just shared the golden nugget, and that's the word. Let's be creative. And I'm going to reshare it. If you're listening to this and watching this interview, you need to watch it again, but I'm going to restate what he said. He went into a talk, or he had the conversation about being booked. They didn't have a budget. However, they had a budget to buy his books. He left with more money on the table from the sale of his books than his fee. You have to be creative. So if someone says, I don't have a budget, don't end the conversation. That's just the start of the conversation. Cornell, thank you. That is the crux. This is the secret sauce of expert speakers like Cornell. So my friends, this is one thing you do not want to forget.